Okay, let's do a review of writing equations of lines. So if we are going to write an equation of a line, remember that slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. The reason this is called slope-intercept form is because the m is the slope and the b is the y-intercept. Okay, so there are 5 different scenarios that I'm going to go through right now in terms of figuring out how to get equations of lines. Let's start with a table of values. If we have an XY table of values that looks like this, in order to write the equation of this, I need to find 2 pieces of information. We need the slope and we need the y-intercept. To start, let's find the patterns in the table. As I notice, the x values are always increasing by 2, and the y values, to get from -10 to -4, we add 6, and then there's adding 6 all the way throughout. So the question becomes, how do we use that? Well, we know that slope is change of y over change of x, which in this case, the y is changed by 6, the x is changed by 2. That fraction does divide nicely. 6 divided by 2 is equal to 3. So the slope of this shown in this table is 3. The y-intercept, on the other hand, is always found when x is equal to 0. So looking at this particular table, the y-intercept is right here. So the b here is -4. Once we have that information, rewrite our equation in this format as y equals 3x minus 4. Basically, this is the output. Take 3, multiply by the input, subtract 4, always get the output. So creating an equation from a table is one thing that you are expected to do. Next, what if you're given a graph? Okay, so if we are given a graph that looks like this, the same ideas apply. We need to know the slope and we need to know the y-intercept. The y-intercept is typically the easier thing to find on a graph, so I start by identifying that this line crosses the y-axis right here, which in this case is 1, 2, positive 3. I am going to notice that as I move left to right, this line is decreasing. I'm going to make a little note to myself that this is a decreasing line. Since it is a decreasing line, the slope is going to be negative. Okay. In order to figure out slope, we're going to find 2 points on this line and create a right triangle. So I'll create a right triangle between these 2 points right here. And I use that by doing rise over run, recognizing that in this case, it's actually not rising, it's actually falling. And this is falling 1, 2, 3 units because the scale on this is 1. So this is going down 3, and it's going across 2. So my rise over run is -3 over 2. Once again, once I have my slope and my y-intercept, I can write the equation as y equals -3 halves x plus 3. I check to make sure that I have a negative slope, which I do because this line is decreasing. So we've written an equation from a table. We've written an equation from a graph. A couple more things that we have to be able to do. We have to be able to write the equation and or find the slope and or find the y-intercept when we're only given 2 points on the line. So let's say that we were given the point 2, 135 and 560. I want the equation of a line that connects those 2 points. Right now, I do not know the slope. I also do not know the y-intercept. So I'll start by making that note to myself. The slope and the y-intercept are both what I do not know. I do know that this is an x and a y value, and I know that that's also an x and a y value. So I'm going to start by actually turning this into a table, something that I'm more familiar with. So if I create an xy table, when x is 2, y is 135. When x is 5, y is 60. Okay, so let's find the patterns. To get from 2 to 5, we add 3. To get from 135 to 60, we might have to do a little bit of work, but that's okay. Let's see, 135 to 60 is minus 75. Okay, well, like I did before, I can now use this information to tell that my slope is change of y over change of x, which in this case is negative 75 divided by 3. And negative 75 divided by 3 is negative 25. So now I know the slope is negative 25. The y-intercept is still what I do not know. Well, in order to figure this out, what I have to do is pick one of the points. I'm going to pick this point just because it's what I'm choosing to do, but that tells me a y value and an x value. So if I go back and remember y equals mx plus b, I think about the things that I know for this particular problem. I know that the y value is 60. I know that the m is negative 25. The x value is 5. And the b is what I do not know. So now I can use this information to solve for b. Negative 25 times 5 is negative 125. To solve for b, I would add 125 to both sides. So b equals 185. I figured out the m earlier. Now I know that b is 185, which means that we can now write the equation as y equals negative 25x plus 185. Using the 2 points. This allowed us to get the slope. If you were just asked to get the slope, stop here. But we were asked to write an equation, so I used this information to find the y-intercept. Okay? 2 more things to do. What if you were given the slope and 1 point on the line? So if you were told that the slope is negative 7 and that it passes through the point 3, negative 3. Once again, think about what you do and do not know. You do know the slope. You do not know the y-intercept. But you do know an x and a y value. So we're going to use that. Again, go to y equals mx plus b. Substitute in the information that you know. You know the y value is negative 3. You know the m is negative 7. You know the x is positive 3. You do not know the b. Use this to solve. So negative 7 times 3 is negative 21. To get b alone, we add 21 to each side. Get that b is positive 18. Now we know that b is 18. We were given the slope is negative 7, so we can write the equation y equals negative 7x plus 18. Okay. But one last thing that we have to be able to do in terms of writing equations is parallel lines. So if you are given parallel lines, you need to remember that parallel lines have the same slope, but different y-intercepts. So let's say that we want the equation of a line parallel. We're going to write the equation of a line parallel to y equals 3x minus 14, passing through the point let's see, 722. Okay, so the first thing we know about parallel lines, we know that parallel lines have the same slope. The given line has a slope of 3 and a y-intercept of negative 14. We want the equation of a completely new line which is parallel to the given. The one thing we absolutely know is that it has exactly the same slope, but a different y-intercept. And the y-intercept of the new line is the thing that I don't know. The other thing we do know is that it goes through the point 722, keeping in mind that that is an x and a y value. So just like we did before, we're going to go to y equals mx plus b. We're going to substitute the information that we know. We know that y is 22. We know that m is 3, x is 7, and the y-intercept is what we're trying to figure out. So we use this to solve. 3 times 7 is 21. Subtract 21, and the b is equal to 1. So our new line has an equation of y equals 3x plus 1. These two lines right here have the same slope but different y-intercepts, so they will be parallel to each other. Really, the one last thing you need to be able to do is write lines given descriptions, but we will cover that another time if necessary. I hope this helps. Please feel free to use it as much and as often as you need to. Goodbye.